Yeah, I'll wait until you start recording. I suppose you can do your intro or whatever you want to do.
Okay, we're recording now. This is the first meeting of the Normalizing Vegan Food Task Force. And it was just kind of on the spur of the moment, we decided to have it on a Sunday, and invited everybody in the group, and also notified everybody in the base camp. Kind of an open house. So we've made our introductions, and we have a few things on the agenda, but I'll put the floor over to Myles, and we'll continue our conversation and fill in as we feel a need.
Okay, thanks, Ray. And I'll follow up on what Jessica was relating as to cafeterias at university she attended, where they endeavored to create a buffet area for the vegan students and to try to meet those vegan students' needs by supplying foods that are not going to trigger their allergies. And that's just a great concept. And it made me think of how you do see buffets, or if you go to a big Sunday brunch, there's often an omelet station, right, where you just sort of pick what you want to go into the dish. And I'm thinking, yeah, you could, with vegan meals, you could have somebody who's at a station like that with a wok, or the waffle iron and such, and the person who comes up with their particular dietary needs could say, well, I can have that and that and this, and then the chef just says, all right, I'm going to whip this up for you. Now, I guess if the person is really super allergic, you'd have to concern yourself with cross-contamination. But, I suppose if somebody's so serious that would be an issue, then they'd have to be certainly maybe not even going out to a restaurant, perhaps. But if, the person's not deathly allergic, and, they could tolerate the risk of eating from a buffet where there's a chef at a station that's ready to take their choosings of the foods to create something, that'd be great. And the other thing I think is really fascinating about the vegan diet is how easy cleanup is, and therefore how the cost of preparing vegan food is so much less. I think of restaurants, I'm not a restaurant owner or professional chef or anything, but I do know that one of the biggest issues they have to contend with all the time is, cleaning the vents of the grease, right, that collects in their ventilation systems. They have to continually degrease things, and then they have to dispose of a lot of grease.
Sorry.
So anyway, those are a couple of concepts that just occurred to me. And then finally, another thing, if anyone wants to carry on with this, my wife told me that at the Golden Globes, they're serving a vegan meal. So that's really cool. And, thinking, well, it'd be an excuse for a party. You could get people together. All right, let's imitate what they're doing at the Golden Globes. When are the Golden Globes? Anybody know? Okay, I'll turn it over to
there. You're on mute, Ray and Kelly. But it's tonight?
They're tonight. And the reason why they're doing it is specifically according to the statement for the climate, which is amazing. So it's not just it's about eating healthy. They said they want to raise awareness about the impacts of that food choices have on the climate.
That gives me goosebumps. Oh, yay. I didn't know that. I just kind of saw it on Facebook, but I didn't read it. Oh, wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Let's end the meeting and go bombard the social media of the Golden Globes right now with Celeste's white paper, which of course fits right into that notion that our food is affecting the environment more than anybody knows.
Fantastic. And I'm going to go make ratatouille and bean dip.
What I wanted to say about the universities, because I think, Jessica, you're absolutely right. My daughter graduated from an art college. It was just downtown Toronto, so she lived here. And she obviously she ate vegan here, and she's almost vegan herself. She's vegetarian, 99.9 vegan. But every Thursday, the student council would get together and make a meal for anyone who, like, for everyone, all the students. And it was just, I think it was like $2, and it was all you can eat, and it was all vegan. So super cheap, and she said it was always really, really delicious. And she said half the university, half the students there were vegan anyway. Mind you, this is like a really trendy hipster like college in Toronto, but nonetheless, that's great. That everyone she knew was vegan. Our son's currently in university, and he did sign up for the meal plan because of the nature of his room. But then last minute he got a room change. He was able to have a room for himself. So we opted out of the meal plan, and so he cooks himself, and he's vegan. So we don't know what they offer there.
We do know they offer vegan because we took
we do know they offer vegan, that they were very accommodating to that. But when we went online just to try to see what it is that they offered, I think this is the downside. Some people have to, I guess, like, not worry about, but be mindful of, is everybody was just complaining about the food being bad in general. So last thing we want is like bad vegan food, right? So I love obviously the idea that there's a chef on campus and that they would cook free and all that. Don't know. I don't know if that's how it is there. We went by the cafeteria and there was a lot of fast food stuff. But the food itself apparently was just really bad. And I think, like, for me, I've been doing activism a really long time, and I've also been like doing catering and like cooking for pop-up. Like I have a side business, and I do like pop-ups. And as much as I want people to go vegan for ethical reasons, normalizing, like making vegan food normal, and that like replica that they want is really going to be how we get people to go vegan. I think that's going to be the majority. I mean, I want people to go vegan for ethical reasons. I want people to go vegan for the climate, but it really is just about, making vegan food easy, and giving them whatever it is they want, now that they think they can't give up, right? So that's why I think that's what I'm interested as part of this task force. And I've been doing that. And it's going to be difficult because we're both trying to change our own diets now and eat like just whole foods, because we eat like a lot of the like veggie meats because we want our son to stay vegan. So, and that's all he wanted and still does. But we ourselves are, at least for myself, I'm beyond that. Like, I really don't, I could care less. I said, like, I would give it up. I'd be totally fine with it, right? But then I have this business that I kind of created for myself where it's like, oh yeah, you make like all these, Jamaican patties or like cheese, all these, like comfort foods, and I can veganize it for you, right? So, and it's food that I personally don't want to really eat now. So it's going to be difficult, but like, I'm determined to still do that because I think that is how we need to get people to, just be open about veganism, vegan food in the first place, right? And afterwards, obviously, as you learn more, you become more educated and you make healthier choices. But
I think Marina needs to go soon. She's got some cooking to do. Marina, you still there?
I am. I just left you guys with some links because I'm finding it very easy online to get meals delivered. 20 meals for $127.84. Beautiful stuff from Plant Pure, which is Nelson T. Colin Campbell's son. That's his organization. Also, Mama Says, beautiful, no oil, very healthy meals. 21 plus meals also for $169 with free shipping. And they have all different bundles. They have like a vegan athlete and a chef's choice and a heart health, all kinds of lose weight ones. So, and these are all whole food, plant-based, delicious, you know, a lot of the comfort foods that, you know, shepherd's pie and barbecue, this and that. So I'm with you with the whole food, plant-based, but meeting people where they are. And I think, you know, I got PETA to donate 75 burgers to our school so that the Beyond Burgers, so that our students could try them out and, you know, see that it was really possible to have something equally as, you know, satisfying and meaty as a burger. And actually one girl said, well, I'm kind of excited to try it because I really don't like hamburgers, and I'm hoping I'll like, and she didn't like it because it tasted exactly like a burger, which is yay, but not for her. I teach, you're welcome, Myles. I teach high school in Houston, and I teach 9th through 12th. So I teach all grades, and the kids that tried the burgers were the 11th and 12th graders, and a lot of the faculty too, and tried it as well, and staff. So I'm a big fan of not reinventing the wheel and joining up with organizations. I'm working with Food Forward right now to get more plant-based options to our school. So I like partnering with people who are already doing the work and you know, making my life easier, just like, great, what do I need to do? And I tend to just be sort of the go-between, the catalyst, and let these people who have done all the groundwork and put a lot of great stuff into place, you know, do their job and make it happen. So, and I'm trying, I got one of the math teachers to go plant-based in September. And, you know, once you go plant-based, I'm noticing people never can go back to the way they were before. He used to be a heavy meat eater because he's diabetic and he believed in high protein, but now he's 5 days a week, all veg, and a couple meals. He'll have, you know, non-vegan if he's offered it. So I'm a big fan of cooking for people, which, yes, I'm going to go do right now. So the drama teacher can be healthy and feel good and lose weight and never get breast cancer again. Thank you so much for doing this, and thanks for all those groups, and I'll just keep plugging away with the links.
Thanks, Marina.
Thanks, Marina.
You brought up the chef challenge, and we'll probably talk about that a bit later. Is there anything you want to share about that before you go?
I'm going to do it. I'm looking at, you know, sort of the steps to take, and I want to do it. It says you need a few months out. And so I'm probably going to shoot for an April challenge and get started, find a restaurant. We've got so many great restaurants in Houston that are willing to just come up with one dish and do some publicity around it. You know, it doesn't seem that difficult. It seems kind of fun. I find for myself, I really like having the challenge of restrictions, like the Universal Meal Challenge. You know, I think it makes me a better, I'm not a chef, but, you know, a better cook, to have some limits, you know, some like work within these parameters. So I think it's going to be awesome, but I'll keep you posted.
Great. And it's something that people are familiar with from Iron Chef. You're given the ingredients. These are the ingredients you've got to work with. Go to it. You think you're a good chef? Show us, you know? Yeah.
Put your plants where your mouth is. So yeah, and I you know, I belong to like a little community garden nearby too, and he's kind of overrun with chickweed, and it would be kind of cool if I could, you know, say like, and maybe do something with a foraged, you know, weed too. I don't know, maybe that's too much. I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I love that. Maybe an Iron Chef vegan challenge. All right, take care.
Has there been an Iron Chef vegan challenge?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'll Google. Thanks, you guys. Have a good night. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy cooking.
Bye, Marina.
Bye, guys.
Okay, Marina. Bye.
So the context of the challenging chefs, we talked a bit before we started recording about one of our topics that's come up in this group right away was the PCRM people. Neil Bernard, I believe, is one that mentioned it. But this concept of a universal meal option, which means that it's an option that can be certified to be hypoallergenic, vegan, and compliant with most religions. And this was a certification system that now that if we could promote it, it can be used in institutions like airlines and hospitals and institutions like schools and publicized and promoted. And obviously, as vegan, it does a lot to normalize the vegan word and make it something that's desirable and on the radar of people who plan meals for large organizations. And we're thinking of why not blow it up into and be an entire genre of cooking of its own, universal meal option, and challenge celebrity chefs to present their best universal meal option, and have cooking competitions and cookbooks. And the more that it becomes a familiar term and in the mainstream, that it just works veganism into a default kind of phase, which is, I think, a really good way to normalize vegan options.
What I'd like to add is that one of the things I struggle with in the kitchen is the cookbooks that are always, for me, they always have too much frivolous reading. They don't have big enough font, and you have to squint your eyes to read. Is that 3/4 or 1/4 because it's so small, the font. And my thought is, if we put together a cookbook, that it could be like a calendar size, like a big calendar size that you can hang on the wall in your kitchen, and you can see pretty well from across the kitchen what you need to put into, the mix, right? Like, I just would love to see a cookbook in that format. It's almost like posters of each recipe, and you just stick them on the wall, and you don't have to go back and forth trying to, read the recipe. Anyway, just a thought.
And that made me chuckle a bit because you said on cookbooks they talk a lot. When you Google a recipe, and the trend now is blogs that have a recipe in it, and you're scrolling for pages and pages and pages, and you're like,
right.
Oh, hey, I see ingredients. This must be the recipe here.
Yeah, it's just a little frustrating.
But it's sometimes kind of nice to see all the backstory that people want to put into things.
Well, if you kept it short, and the other thing though, the calendar cookbook idea, poster cookbook idea, you could have inspiring images like places being reforested and photographs of reforested area or edible forests, and those sorts of inspiring pictures on something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. There's one that we got. Who went? My husband and I went vegan in 1997, and we have like 15 cookbooks that we've had the whole time, and then we have some that we've gotten since then. And some of the ones that we had from right in the beginning, or one of the ones, I'm trying to think which one it is. I can't think which one it is right now, but they have pictures in there of animals from Farm Sanctuary, like Bee Farm Sanctuary in New York, with their stories. What is it? Oh, it's Vegan Vittles. Does anybody have Vegan Vittles? That one? Okay. They have, I don't know if it's still in print. So that was one of the ones we had at first, but it has like, it'll have like the name, it'll have like a picture of an animal that's there, and then their story about how they got there and everything on some of the pages. And yeah, Myles, I think putting images like that, and there could be images of environmental positive, those kinds of ones too. That would be, I like that too. And for the cookbook, to me, I just want to ask you all, like, so, well, I was 19 when I went vegan, and although I had cooked like with my dad a whole lot, and we made cookies like every week when I was little, I remember. And then when I was vegetarian, at the end of high school, I remember the last Thanksgiving of high school, I made a vegan Thanksgiving meal, like tofu, noodles, and all this. And that was from a cookbook that I had just gotten, that's almost vegan, but it's vegetarian. And but that recipe was vegan. And so anyway, when I went vegan, I went vegan the first day of my second year of college. Well, for my first day in the on-campus apartment, because I knew that summer before that, I read Diet for America, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be vegan, and I'll make it that first day, because then I'll be totally in control of my food and all this. And I ate like really simply for a couple of weeks, and then I met vegans and moved in with them, and they showed me how to cook, but I used the cookbooks. So I wanted to ask you also, like, did cookbooks help you learn how to cook vegan? Because I was kind of learning how to cook and learning how to cook vegan at the same time. And the cookbooks really helped me. So I couldn't just look up a recipe on the internet then. And the cookbooks, like especially New Farm Vegetarian, does anybody have that one? Okay, that one I've used that one the whole time, and also the Nutritional Yeast Cookbook the whole time. But New Farm, I remember, it has tons of, it's like make your own, like mayonnaise from all the way back then, and like you make your own, whatever, make your own ketchup, make your own barbecue sauce, make your own. And so muffins, bread, everything. And so I think they have make your own pasta, but I didn't do that. Make your own tofu, but I didn't do that either. But the cookbooks really, really helped me. So I don't know how, like that wasn't included in the 2019 FOMAD study, and I've not heard that. I haven't heard people really talk about that, but I know there's like a thing where people will, go vegan and they'll stop. But I wonder, for me, cookbooks, sorry, this is a really long way to explain it, but for me, cookbooks were so helpful in me. No matter what, I wasn't going to not be vegan just because I couldn't eat some food that tasted a certain way. But it was very helpful for me to learn how to cook, having cookbooks. And so I can't compare now, because now I do look up recipes sometimes. Like I'll be like, I want to make some savory muffins. I don't have any savory muffin recipes. And so, I'll look up, and like I looked up some, found some kale and onion muffins. I made them again today. So I do that, but I do also, I have my favorite recipes from the cookbooks. I just got 2 more cookbooks. And so do cookbooks help you all? Do they, or do you all tend to now like go online to look for recipes, or do you only just make up your own recipes? How helpful are cookbooks for you all? For me, they were super helpful. So like this universal meal cookbook to me sounds like so great, because it's getting it all in there. And then it maybe could be that they could be maybe given to some of these, like the restaurants or something. I don't know if they would do like that, but like, here to start, here's a recipe example, from our cookbook,
Myles, did you want to go first? Because I believe you're a newer vegan, right? So I'm curious to know what you're doing to help you enjoy vegan food.
Sorry, I'm switching between microphones here.
You described your meals that you shared with your family a while ago, and there's no way you could have done all that without a little help from cookbooks.
Were you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I put my camera on here, so I'm a little near. I don't know what. I have a slight vision problem. I have to use these drugstore number one power glasses to read a recipe book. But I'm actually working out of the Buddhist Chef. Are you familiar with this one, anybody? So it's 100, that's great. Yeah, 100 simple, feel-good vegan recipes, right? And it's pretty good. Like, it doesn't have a lot of verbiage that you have to plow through to get to the details that you need, right? But nevertheless, like, look at it. They have every page pretty much is only used 2/3. So why didn't they use a bigger font? Like, blow it up. But it is, other than that, it's a pretty good no-nonsense recipe book, which is what I like. But again, if you had something that you could just, like, here's a picture I have on the kitchen wall. If you could just have something big like that, poster size, with the recipe on it, right, that you can see across the kitchen, I think that would be for me a big seller, right?
Yeah, especially like if we have a contest, the contest winner, you put it on a big poster and share it with everybody.
Yeah, and sell them as posters, and publish them. I don't like to promote Amazon, but you just maybe climate healers would have a distribution center where they could, create a little business where they create these posters and put the pictures on. Here it's got a nice picture of the food, which is a good idea. But you could also have those inspiring pictures that we were talking about as well. So, in answer to Jessica, yeah, I'm more of a recipe cookbook person than trying to use a computer in the kitchen. I find, again, very difficult, as Ray mentioned, because you have to scroll through things. You've got you got tofu on your fingers, and you're trying to scroll on your computer or cornstarch or whatever you're using, and it's just, I don't know, to me the cookbook, something you can open, is more functional. Ideally it's got to be simple, big font, and again, the poster idea I think would be the best. Thank you.
There are like frames. I haven't bought any, but I've seen them before. I've seen them online, but it's like, I don't know, let's say they may be like, well, they probably have different sizes, but probably they're less than 2 feet square, and they're rectangular, and they open up. Have y'all seen these frames? So I think they make them for kids art. So I think I would maybe sell them or for my own kids. I think I've saw them before, but you basically, I guess, I don't know if they have it where you are supposed to leave it on the wall and do it, and the art, you try and catch it, or if you take it off the wall. But so imagine like a frame, and then, like, let's say it has a mat that may be hooked to the, let's say, plexiglass, and then you can open it, and you put, it's designed to put kids art in because they make it so often, and then you can take one out, and the next day put another one in, and then you put one in for a week and you take it out. And but so anyway, if this ever comes to fruition with having the cookbook and any like poster size recipes to put on the wall, like Myles was talking about, those that would be a good thing to hold it up, is one of these frames, because it's just supposed to be really simple. You open it, you stick your thing in, and you close it, and you can change it out easily. Just if that happens, there's a good way to put it up.
So for me, when I went vegan, I've been vegan over 5 years now. We bought a lot of cookbooks, but I'm an online person. I love looking at recipes, and I look even for non-vegan recipes because I know how to veganize them easily, right? So I think that's what's so great about recipes now. I can't find something vegan that I like, or I just can't find a vegan version of it, which is pretty rare. You could just look at the non-vegan one, just go, yeah, okay, so it's chicken. Okay, I'm putting veggie chicken. Okay, it's an egg. Okay, I know how to do an egg replacer. Milk, obviously, we know how to, substitute that. But Ray got me an app called Paprika, and you save so you can go online and find a recipe, and then you put it in the app, and it just puts it and then you could just search your app, and that I have used my whole time. And Ray built this little arm under my shelf, so because we put it on our iPad, but I tend to always have my iPhone in my hands. But it was intended for the iPad, and I've just put the iPad up and pull up the Paprika app, and so it's like an online cookbook. So I tend to go online for my recipes. And then I also went to school. I got a certificate in vegetarian culinary arts at a college. And I use a lot of recipes from my classes there. So they're just printouts. But my daughter just wrote to me a couple days ago, and she sent me a picture of a cookbook. I think it was Going Vegan or Eating Vegan or something. And I said, oh, who's that for? Like, who are you thinking of getting that for? Because I thought she was thinking getting it for me. And I said, because I think I might have that already. And she said, oh, for me, like for herself. I went, oh, come over to the house. I have, because I go to like bookstores. I go into their discount section. They have the most amazing vegan cookbooks there for $5. Or if you go to like a Winners or a Home Sense or a Marshalls, whatever, it's all the same company. You go on, they always have amazing vegan books. I'm always buying vegan cookbooks. And then I don't use them because I naturally go online. But she came over yesterday.
I just want to mention about the Marshalls because Home Sense. Because when we go into Home Sense, there's so many vegan books there. And while she's shopping, I'm putting all the vegan books in the front and putting all the recipe books in the back.
We hide them.
A little activism while I'm waiting for her to check out. Sorry, go ahead.
So my daughter came over yesterday because I said, come over, let's go through cookbooks because she wants to cook more and she is pretty much vegan. And I'm pretty sure she lives with her boyfriend who's not vegan and his mom who's not vegan. But she cooks vegan. I think she just gets tempted when she's out and there isn't a vegan option for milk, then I think she might. But where she works now, she is easily accessible to everything. But so she came over yesterday and we started going through cookbooks, and I had such a good time. I was like, I'm totally getting into cookbooks. I'm going to use these cookbooks, especially because we're trying to change the way that we eat. And so I'm really excited to get back into cookbooks, or just get into cookbooks, because I have probably like 30 of them.
I walked in for like about 5 minutes and you're talking about the pictures being important. We're just like opening the books and go, oh, look at that. Oh my God, I totally need to make that. And things like, was it a turmeric ketchup? Things that you normally wouldn't think of being able to get particular kinds of foods and nutrients into your diet. And we've got way more recipe books than we'd probably ever use, but there's a Caribbean cookbook that was really helpful because I wanted to get plantains, and I didn't know an awful lot of ways to use plantains. And there's one of the things that it really inspires is, as a new vegan, you're usually thinking, okay, now I got to work with restrictions, but you start looking at the produce section very differently. You start seeing what are these big yams that look like chunks of a log? I wonder if I can make something out of that. We went to a Jamaican restaurant and they were serving kind of a bunch of different dishes that they were placing together. We went, what is this? Well, that's ackee. That's like the national dish of Jamaica. And I went, wow, it looks like scrambled eggs. And we tasted it, and it's very, if you've had ackee, it doesn't really taste like scrambled eggs, but we thought, well, you put the calinamic salt on it, and then it'll taste like eggs. And we've kind of built our own recipe out of it. So the kind of starts with the recipe book sometimes, and another one of our favorite chefs is the Gentle Chef, Sky Michael Conroy, who kind of gets into the science and the experimentation of food and trying to replicate different cheeses and meats and presentations. And he's got a series of cookbooks that we've collected them all and have done several recipes out of them. And he's an interesting personality that would be great to get him involved in this group.
And just for a recipe, for a cookbook suggestion, the one that we had that we were all, well, my daughter and I were both the most excited about was called Vegan in 5. So it's all recipes that require 5 or less ingredients. Because she works and that's what she wanted, was like come home, cook quick with little ingredients, make it for her lunch the next day. And that book's great. So I recommend that one.
One thing to mention about the Paprika app, if you browse in the app and you find a recipe that you like, in one click it will analyze the page and extract the ingredients and the recipe. It somehow got programming to recognize ingredients and the steps and trim out all the stories and so forth. So it's really handy to extract an app, and then you can adapt it. You can change the I've had recipes in there where I'm like, this is good, except there's 3 of us, so how would I adapt the recipe for these pancakes or whatever?
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
But I totally agree with Myles. Usually I've got my phone on and I'm looking at a recipe and then it's all covered in gunk by the end of the recipe. Or you have your hands all gooed up and then all of a sudden it goes into quiet mode, right? It goes into sleep and then you have to clean your hands. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll be
How are you
moving
doing?
around here. I've got animals all around me, so I don't know. Here's
It's a
Coco.
good way to be.
Yeah. Here's
Hey, Coco. For Ray and Kelly, with your if you want cookbooks like a whole food cookbook, I just got 2 for my birthday, and they are so great. I knew what I wanted because have you all seen Jane and Anne's Esselstyn? Have you all seen their cooking show? Has anybody seen it?
What is it called?
It's called Cooking with Jane, and it's Jane and Anne Esselstyn. You know, Dr. Esselstyn's wife and daughter, and you know Rip Esselstyn with the engine tooth and all that. So Jane and Anne have cooking shows. So nobody has seen it.
I saw one of it. Yeah.
Okay, and Myles, I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe not, or you can tell us you've seen it now. Well, they are the Cooking with Jane, it's called, and they crack me up. It's always both of them, and it is so entertaining. You know, like Dr. Greger is like so entertaining, just when he talks and everything. I just love everything. Oh, he's just great. Well, Jane and Anne, they're just so fun and they're so awesome. And they'll do this whole cooking show. And like I've seen some cooking shows where, or it seems like a lot of them. I haven't watched many other than theirs and somebody who lives in North Carolina named Jill Dalton, and she does the whole food plant-based cooking show. And I added her to Basecamp, but she didn't know she'd be able to do it because she's so busy with her cooking show. But hers is the way that Jane and Anne's is, where you see them in real time and they're making the whole thing and go through it, everything. It's not like the ones where it's zoomed in on the food the whole time and they're like doing a voiceover. And I like the ones where you like see the person making it. But Jane and Anne's, so you just, you see them making it and talking, and Jane always calls Anne the acid queen because she likes balsamic vinegar on everything. And they have like all these different flavored balsamic vinegars, like chocolate balsamic vinegar and all this. But anyway, Jane and Anne have a cookbook called the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease Cookbook. That's one of the ones that I got. And then we got Rip's, and his is the Engine 2 cookbook. And I think I've only made one thing. I just got it at the end of December, but I've made one thing from Rip's, and it was OMG walnut sauce. And I had seen Jane and Anne make that one, and it's like a walnut sauce with it's really not very many ingredients, and you can add more water and make it thinner or less and make it thicker. And I'm having that on salads. It's so good all the time. And then the kale cake, they have Jane and Anne and theirs have kale cake. It's literally green, and it's so pretty and it's good. And anyway, but those 2, if you want cookbooks, I mean, so Kelly, if you're a cookbook collector, but you might not look in it, but if you want a whole food plant-based vegan cookbook, those 2, all the rest of ours are just regular vegan, but those 2, I think they're really good. And if you want to see, like, do you think you're going to like it? If you think you might want to use them, you can watch their cooking show and see if you think you'll like it. Because they make, all the things that they make are from those 2 cookbooks. They use both of them on their shows.
We've sent our burger monster off to college, so now we're able to indulge in a lot more cooking that we don't have to follow his very particular palate. So I think the cookbooks are going to become a big part of, especially this next month. We're trying to get into juicing right now, but I came across an article that said that there's a lot of different kinds of vegan, or lots of different kinds of diets that people are promoting. One of them was a Canadian diet. I went, what's that? And I clicked on it, and it went to the Health Canada webpage of our Canada Food Guide. So it's essentially just the plate with half the plate filled with fruits and vegetables, 30% filled with grains and starches, and 20% filled with protein foods. So we decided, let's just follow that. We'll try to cook with as much whole foods as possible, with all this Canadian diet, which has got a great story to go with it. It's worth mentioning, because I know in 2020 the dietary guidelines for Americans is coming out. I've seen testimonies by a lot of the vegan doctors challenging them to make it as plant-based as possible. And look at what Canada is doing. We've ditched milk as a food group, which only could have happened because our health department in our government is separate from the agriculture department. I know in the United States, the USDA is kind of both at the same time, which makes it very difficult to replicate this accomplishment, which was to keep industry at arm's length through the entire consultation process. All Canadians were involved in the process and invited to participate and have our say. And we voted and said that we don't want to have industry input. So that'd be a great thing to see happen in the United States. I've posted the link for thegentlechef.com. That's Guy Michael Conroy. And of course, this is one of the books is based on replicating meats, and it's full of gluten. It's, vital wheat gluten. It's I find his cookbooks are really good for people who are trying to go vegan and they are resisting veganism because they say, well, I can't give up my seafood. He's got a book on seafood. I can't give up my cheese. He's got a book on cheese. And he's so particular about the things being the right taste. He's constantly refining the recipes. You'll say, oh, I'm trying to make perfect ricotta or something, or there's something that he's tweaking the flavors a little bit. And he sometimes consults online and people sharing ideas on how to replicate flavors. So it's very, very interesting. And the recipe books also come in PDF form, so you can download them and keep them on your phone or keep them on an iPad or on your computer and manipulate them, change them as you see fit.
What would make an interesting training aid for the white paper would be these posters with the recipes, but each poster could have an element of Dr. Rao's white paper. So, not only do you have the visual, the image of, say, like you have behind you right now, that could be on the poster, and then a fact from the white paper, and then the recipe, and maybe there'd be a way to create these and send them, send them out for a nominal fee or something, to people. And anyway, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so an education tool, both educating about the white paper and educating about vegan cooking, and a great gift idea for people to give to other people. And maybe such a thing could be available from the Climate Healers website. I suppose you could create, might be something that you could create in a PDF version that people could print themselves, or downloadable version where people could go, maybe with having put it onto a stick, and just head over to your local copy center or whatever, these various companies, and maybe does anybody know if that's possible, that you can put a poster on a stick and then take it to a print center to have them print the poster for you?
Yeah, you can definitely do that. And there's also, there are a number of websites. Cafepress.com is one of them. And so like you can design your own, let's say, t-shirt, because I did that years ago with I made a star. It was like a white star and it said vegan across the middle, and I put it on a black shirt. And then I made it on there. You can make it be so people can buy them in different colors and things like that. And every time somebody buys one, the designer gets like if it's still the same, the designer gets this little nominal, compensation for that. But
that'd be great, because it'd be so easy to distribute, right? If you can just go to our Climate Healers website and under the resources, download these things, and with some simple instructions, as you've just described, to create the posters. And then, by the way, the idea of the frame that you're talking about sounds like it'd be the ideal thing to, encourage people to have a place to hang in their kitchen for these things to display while they're creating their meal. Super.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I missed what the reference to the posters was, Myles. Or was this just in general, or was there some poster talk before?
Oh, okay, Rebecca. What the poster concept is that I'm a person I'm not a professional cook. In fact, I'm a struggling cook because I usually don't do much of it. But since I want to be as vegan as possible, but my family, the rest of them are like, well, yeah, we understand, but we're not ready to completely cross over to vegan. So now I'm doing some of the cooking, but I struggle with the fact that these recipes are so hard to read. The print, the font is so often so small. And I'm constantly squinting to read the recipe, and I don't like, as I said, too much verbiage that I have to sort through, because I'm not a very focused person in the kitchen, so I'm easily distracted. I'm going to very likely make mistakes if I have to sort through a lot of confusion, if the user interface is not that easy. So as far as user interface, the poster idea is that you could have a poster on your wall, like this poster here, but it would be your recipe, big and bold, so you can see it across the kitchen, and you just hang it on the wall, and away you go. In fact, funny little story, I once invited, this is before I was married, I invited a whole bunch of people from work to my house, and I had my meal plan, several dishes all planned out, and invited these people, and I was preparing the meal in the kitchen, and I'm just rattling off, well, this is what I'm making, and, I take 3/4 a cup of this, and I add a teaspoon of this, and half a tablespoon of that, and I'm just rattling off all this recipe like I'm a professional chef. Well, what they didn't know is that up high on the wall, I had this poster concept that I had done myself. So I'm just looking up over it. They don't know. Nobody else is seeing what I'm seeing. And, it's like Conan O'Brien on his talk show, or these talk show hosts. They have these people, these big cue cards, right? Most of the time. They're not totally ad-libbing very much, actually. So that's the same idea, the poster idea, to make it really easy for people to cook in the kitchen,
Great. Well, thank you. I wondered about that. One of the things that I learned from my Indian style cooking, was to get the little metal cups. Have y'all used those? And before I start cooking, this is not all the time, but when I've got a new recipe, I pour all the ingredients out in those metal cups and line them up ready to go. And I'm also learning to do all my chopping ahead of time before I start cooking. But I also learned recently that I need to leave the spice name by the cup, because sometimes if they're supposed to go in at different times, I couldn't tell the difference between one spice and the other when they look similar. But anyway, I like using those cups for cooking. And speaking of posters, I went out on the square at our town. I was the only one out there, but I had a sign and it said, "We can solve climate change, climatehealers.org." And on the other side, there's no Planet B. So I'm also trying to just get the word out there, climate healers, and then those people who are interested can read further. You know, I don't feel like I need to say much more than that. Just get there. And then in terms of cooking, I was passing out leaflets at one of the little festivals on the square, and I did find a couple of people that would like a vegan cooking class. I spoke to 3 people. They're more interested now. Now, this is in the barbecue capital of Texas, so for people on the square to be talking about, yeah, they want to learn to do some vegan cooking. So all of a sudden, I feel like I need to do a cooking school as well as all the other things, and I find I accept too much. And here I am on this show, but I need some collaboration. I need to know other people are out there, and so I appreciate you doing this.
Another idea is if we could simply partner with people, these chefs, such as Jessica mentioned, the Jane ladies who have their online cooking show. You know, if there'd be people that might donate and make some sort of contractual arrangement with climate healers where they would be willing to provide the recipes and such, might be one way to move the idea forward, get these resources available to people. You know, if there'd be some joint bilateral mutual aid agreement with people who are already accomplished vegan chefs with their recipes, and I'm sure they would be very sympathetic to the climate healers cause, might fast track this whole concept. I'm actually going to have to say goodbye because I have to get on to some other things. So, but it was very nice jumping in here today and talking to everybody. Take care.
Thanks for dropping in, Myles.
Thanks for coming in. Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
Great. Bye.
Well, I think that's a lovely idea. Mostly cooks want to put their own recipes in their own books, but climate healers is a very select thing that they wouldn't have much competition to say, no, we better choose somebody else. I mean, his is, you know, to put something about climatehealers.org would be great for us. And I don't know what advantage it is to them, but I think it's a great idea.
One thing that I proposed to the organizer of the SAVE movement. I don't know if you know the SAVE movement. So Anita is in Toronto with us, and but this could easily be replicated with climate healers. Is, you know, I said we do our activism and we tell people to go vegan, and then we send them to a website. Challenge 22 is typically where everyone gets sent to, right? And I know for me, I think now, like, I went vegan. I didn't even know anybody that was vegan. I went vegan because I saw a poster, right? But like, you know, and I'm like tech savvy, but not everybody is, or not everybody necessarily has the time. And I don't think that that's the right approach, is to like do activism and then say go vegan and then send them away to a website to get a mentor. I was on the vegan outreach. I think I signed up to be mentors of every, like, you know, organization that have vegan mentors. And I've never been hooked up with anyone. And I can't believe that in the city of Toronto that there aren't people looking for mentors. So either it doesn't work, or like, I don't know, it's poorly run. I don't know. I said, but what we should be doing is having the people here. And that was something that I wanted to lead. And that is like, you know, create those groups of support people, you know, in each city, right? And that was kind of like initially, because my company's called the Vegan Abler, and that was what I was going to offer, was my services to help people eat more plant-based, right? You know, so take them shopping, teach them how to cook, things like that, right? But I said, but we create groups in each city, local groups, so that people don't like feel like they got to go online, you know, and that like the person's there and they're much more easily accessible. You know, and I said to her, like, you know, on top of that, like we have, you know, weekly drop-in cooking classes, right? You know, and you make it so that's free for people. You know, if that's something that, like, from a funding perspective, it can be covered on the back end through the donations from the Save movement, then let's do it, right? Because I'll donate my time. I just need the cost of the food, right? And when people do, like, quote unquote, sign up, or however it is that they do it, right? Just so you don't get, you know, 500 people showing up because it's a free meal, you know, but to offer that for people. And then you're making it inclusive as well, right? Because like we have these talks here. They're called VED Talks. They're like vegan TED Talks. This organization, Plant-Based Revolution, started hosting them about half a year ago. And the last one that we had was like people, you know, who approach veganism from every perspective. And one of them was like intersectional vegans. And one big message that came out of that is like, you know, people are reluctant to go vegan because they don't feel included, because like, you know, food deserts, or, you know, just like their ability to eat vegan, right? So I want to make it free so that nobody feels that they can't show up, because like I see, like, one thing of living in Toronto is you have vegan cooking classes or wine and cheese events and all those things everywhere, and they're like $50 a person. So, you know, you want people to try vegan cheese, but you know, who, like, not everybody has $50 to go to it, right? I want to make it free, or a pay what you can, or a barter or something, right? So that everybody feels included, and do this on a regular basis, or have like a monthly drop-in where we're just cooking like really wholesome, simple ingredients, right? I think that's really critical to to get people to you know, go vegan and then stay vegan, right? You know, having that support.
So that's just part of a community in Phoenix, that there's a public kitchen that is a pay what you can, and they serve vegan food to the community. And I can't remember exactly how it operates, but it's really fascinating. He's invited us to come down and check it out. And we keep promising that we will, but we should get him on our meeting at some point, so you can give it a more of a description, and get the people who run the organization to describe it in our meetings. That it would be great to get them in there. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, because we have kitchens here in Toronto that offer that, right? You know, or places, but they're not exclusively vegan or plant-based. So I definitely would love to do something like that, where it is, you know, and operating on the, you know, food waste and all that. Like, we have some really great vegan companies that are making vegan food with, you know, the ugly fruits and vegetables, things like that, or you know, getting like leftover pulp from juice places, and they're making, you know, crackers, things like that out of it, right? And so you know, I love working with people. I love partnering with people, right? You know, because there's great vegan companies in Toronto that are doing really great climate related stuff like that.
A lot of good ideas. I'd love to hear that, Ray. And your idea, would you tell me your name again, sitting next to Ray?
I'm Kelly.
Kelly, okay. Yeah, yeah, thanks. I also have had people that I've talked to, and I've sent them to Challenge 22, and I've sat with a couple of them with cookbooks and talked to them, but I haven't gotten back to them recently. And I think it would be lovely if we could have we'll just come down any Monday night, and, you know, I'll be there at the coffee house and we can talk, or maybe it could grow like that. I know some people can't afford, you know, to spend that money, but it seems to me like that weekly idea would be really good.
So important. Oh, Oh, am I on? Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I do. Like, we were part of I don't know what to call it. It was an organization by Jane Velez Mitchell called Veg Up, and it was like a support group for people who were not vegan but want to go vegan, or transitioning, or people who are vegan but like, you know, they whatever, maybe, you know, had some things that, you know, they felt guilty about. Like one of them, the first one that she used, like, you know, she's vegan but she feeds her dogs like animal food, right? And so she always had that like sort of guilt, right? You know, so it was like a safe space where people can just express whatever it is that they, you know, want to express about, you know, their struggle with going vegan or their struggle with staying vegan. And I love that concept, except we always met at these very extravagant restaurants. And, that was definitely not something that was inclusive, right? So, and maybe the concept was, I think now, I'd really love to get that going again. I think that, you know, now is the time. I mean, it was only a couple of years ago, but like veganism is just so, you know, the trend, like you just see it. It's just mainstream now, just, you know. So I think you'd get a lot more participation, because when we did it before, it would be vegans showing up, but nobody really had any problems. Like they were all like pretty dedicated, hardcore vegans. So it just became sort of a social thing, which is nice, but kind of defeats the purpose of what the club or whatever it was supposed to be was about. But I think like that, offering that support is really, really important.
Part of the concept of the Veg Up was also that meat is an addiction. Cheese is an addiction. So it was a literal 12-step program that Jane was promoting, was suggesting through the system. And it was following sort of the same methodology as Alcoholics Anonymous, that nobody is necessarily running it. You kind of run it for a while, then you hand it off for somebody else to host meetings and try to get it to move around the city and go to different venues. And it was a great idea. They were supposed to get a lot of support with materials, so it never quite took off. I think as commonly happens, vegans are very important, are very active and have a lot on their agenda. So sometimes things get lost in the cracks, but they're all good ideas that we can always pick up and go with again.
Yeah.
One thing that might make it be like an easier kind of way to get this started with the at least a monthly, or well, however often whoever the organizer is could do it, is with the climate healers groups, with doing the screening, the film screening, because I mean, we say ideally monthly, but it, you know, whatever your schedule allows for the organizer, and then there can be co-organizers too. So anybody scheduling should be an organizer, but so, you know, if there are, let's say, 2 or 3 or 4 people in the near, you know, near each other, and then maybe with, you know, the combined effort of those 4 people, it could be monthly or near monthly. And so with the screening, before or after, those could be opportunities to have these kinds of like conversations with people, and also cooking demos and things like that during the actual, like, well, not during the film, but, you know, at the screening, like before or afterwards. And I think that face-to-face time, like you were talking about, Kelly, rather than like just say, here's your card, you know, go to Challenge 22. Like, I know we went to one dinner, I guess it was, yeah, a dinner at a vegan restaurant here that someone organized. It's a vegan, and he started I think he called it, I don't know, some sort of vegan meetup, you know, whatever, for the area. And so we went to the first dinner, and there was somebody there who's trying to be vegan. I think she said she was vegetarian for some years. Anyway, she definitely wasn't vegan yet. And she was asking about like some kind of, I don't know, I think she was saying something about asking about coconut oil or something. And I said, do you know about Dr. Greger and nutritionfacts.org yet? And she was like, no. And well, I just happen to have a card if you would like it, you know. And I mean, our Go Vegan card has that on the back. I can't remember which one I gave her, if I gave her that one or Dr. Greger's, like his actual card, you know, that you can order. I have both. But anyway, so I was able to give her that there, you know. And even so, like with all of this online right now, people who want to be vegan, it's still, everybody's not going to find all of what is there online. And so, and to find, you know, help with like the cooking and stuff, and see how easy, or, you know, like some people don't like, I can't remember where I saw if it was Dr. Greger or somebody else, but recently somebody was put, I think on Facebook, like a credible source put that like some certain percentage of people, I think in America, don't eat like even one serving of fruit or something like that per week, or I don't remember, so I'm definitely not quoting it, but anyway, it was like basically people don't eat enough fruit. And so like with Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen, are y'all familiar with that? Okay, so you know, so like he's got on there all the fruits, and so I don't think he has, like, I printed off the thing that he has that's the, I don't remember what he calls it, maybe the Dining by Traffic Light little booklet or something, but he's got something you can print off, and it's like maybe like 6 pages or 8 pages or something. It's like a little brochure kind of thing, but it's like all these pages, but there's like, I think he should have, and I don't know if he would be fine with everybody making it. I know there's the app, but not everybody's going to do, you know, the technology, you know, the technological stuff. And for like, even me personally, if I wasn't vegan right now, I would personally rather have it on like a little card than an app, because I just don't do like apps on my phone and stuff. And I know you can go to his website and find a Daily Dozen, and I've done that and printed out the 1-page thing, and I love that. But like his 1-page thing where it tells how many of each serving, and like I have it on the shirt, you know, the shirt when it has the little circles, if there could be that on a card to give people too, because also when you say vegan, or if somebody wants to be vegan, and it seems like so simple to us, like, well, you just don't eat this and you eat everything else, you know.
Yeah.
If it's a plant, you eat it, but it's still like, I don't know, just the Daily Dozen with like, it's like, this is it every day. You can just follow this, like 3 servings of beans and the 3 servings of whole grains, and you know, all this, and it's so simple and right there. But anyway, so at the Climate Healers group screenings and things, that can be something that we talked about, like Silesh and I talked about, that, you know, it can be like this too, and the same people can come, and they can maybe try to bring hopefully some other people with them who are not yet vegan too. And so it can be this whole kind of thing where it's also the talking and also the cooking, and like with the smoothie. So that's something that could easily be done if there's just, you know, you just need an outlet. You bring your smoothie ingredients, and you bring you know, your Vitamix or whatever you have, and you fix the smoothie, and then right there you're showing how delicious, and it's all, you know, like all the fruits and stuff. And I remember reading one time, like, I think it was somebody who had a vegan group at the university, and he was saying that when he has events, like to get together with the people at the university, and he's trying to get non-vegans to go there, he was saying that he served different foods at different times, and that it was always the smoothies, that everybody loved the smoothies every time, and that every time they had, everybody's like, oh wow, you know, I love this. And that with the other foods, you know, some people like it and some people don't, but something about the smoothies. So anyway, that, and then earlier with what Myles was talking about with the recipes, and like get some of the people like Jane and Ann Esselstyn or somebody to like kind of partner up with them in some way. This year, well, not this year now, it's New Year. Last year, I was thinking, I really feel like, because so many people are like, I want to be vegan, but I don't know how do I do it? And I think the recipe, the cooking videos where it shows the people making it, like we were talking about earlier, Becky, I think it was where you got on with Jane and Ann Esselstyn, and also or maybe you were already on, and another one, the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, like those where it shows the people actually making it. It's like, you know, doing it in real time and all this with them. And I think it's, you know, it's not as good as being like right there with somebody, but I think maybe that's the next best thing if you can't be right there with somebody. And so I was thinking, I really don't want to have videos of myself online, but if I want there to be more videos, then I guess I have to be the, you know, be the change you wish to see in the world, and maybe I should make a video. And so I actually was like, well, what, you know, I really love some of these cookbook recipes. And so I wrote Joe Stepaniak, you know, who makes like the well, she does a lot of things, but she wrote the nutritional yeast cookbook, and there are 2 recipes in there that I've made for almost 23 years now, multiple times a year. The bread stuffing casserole and the herbed brown gravy. And anyway, so I wrote her, and I didn't expect to hear back, and I was like, you know, I would really like to make a cooking video sometime, or just a few cooking videos. I've never made any videos before. It's not going to look professional. I don't know how to do it. I've never done it, but I have loved your cookbook for all these years and have made some of the recipes multiple times every year for all these years. And would it be okay with you if I made some of your recipes in my cooking show? Like if I just basically recorded myself making yours, and I would put a link to your cookbook and save it up to you and what the cookbook was called and all that. And I could either tell the actual, you know, whole recipe with the ingredients or not. And she wrote me right back and said, oh, sure, you can do that. And she said, as far as telling the recipes, maybe you could just check with me each time. And it would depend on maybe which ones it was and how many of them it was going to be. And I told her those 2, and she said, sure, you can do those 2 and tell all what's in it. And I haven't made it yet because that was probably December, maybe November. So anyway, that, I don't know if that's the kind of partnering that Myles meant, because if any of us did that, we could, you know, do it as like I could do it through my Climate Healers group, I suppose, you know, or like if any of you did that, you could be like doing it through your Climate, and then it would be connecting, you know, both, putting them together in that way. And with, oh, Kelly, you were talking about the shopping, like maybe taking people shopping. I kept thinking about that too. And I see people sometimes, you know, like a Whole Foods or something, like looking at the vegan cheeses and the tofu and stuff, you know, and they seem like they're contemplating, should I get this? What is this? And, you know, it's not like, is this vegan? It's they look like they're really thinking about it, you know, and they'll like read it, and then they'll be like still looking and like they're really thinking. And I think I thought that same thing about taking people shopping, and I wonder if you all have ever done it. I would like to hear about if you did and what happened. But I thought about that too, like to ask, like for example, like the people that would go to these dinners and things who are just trying to be vegan or however they could be found, to say like, would you like to go to the store and, you know, walk around, and I can just kind of show you like, okay, all of this is vegan and all of this and this. Right here, I use this a lot. I love this. I used to like this, but it has a lot of oil, so I don't use this anymore. If you don't care about oil, here you go. You know, and that kind of stuff. Have you all taken anybody to the store who's like newly vegan or trying to go vegan?
Nope, but that's exactly what is in my mind and what I created and kind of what I put on my page. I just never really promoted it. It was my intention. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I created it like as I created a business, you know, because that was going to be, but now I have a job and have a well-paying job. Right. And it was never, I just want people to go vegan. I don't really even want to make money off it. Right. You know, so it was always weird. Like, how much do I charge to take people shopping? Do we do it in a group? Do we meet somewhere? Like, what's the, you know, what does that look like? Right. So I never really got around to it. But that's exactly it. Like Ray said, you know, you would like go somewhere, you know, pick a part of the city, right? And it doesn't even have to be you. Like you can have different, like my business is called Veganablers. Like you have your Veganablers, right? It's basically vegan experts, right? In whatever part of the city, you know, so they know their local grocery stores, you know, and they know where everything is in that grocery store. And yeah, and do exactly what you said, Jessica, like, you know, okay, here's where you can go. No, that's off limits. And then you know, the ingredients that we know aren't vegan, but some people might not know, like L-cysteine and, you know, being careful about vegan cheeses, you know, because they might say dairy free, but then they got casein in it and, you know, things like that. Right. You know,
we've been planning this for years. Yeah. And we've done it virtually in a way, because the same grocery stores around Toronto, and they're kind of organized in different ways, but we will say, okay, in Loblaws, you need to go, all the vegan food is with the allergy, like the gluten-free food. In Metro, it's you're going to find all the veggie meats over in the produce section. Some places will have the
the non-dairy milk separate. Some will have the ice cream in a different place. So they tend to be consistent. But I'd also mention 2 words. This is a 2-word pitch: refrigerator makeover.
Mm-hmm.
We have trouble with our refrigerator. We want to be experts on this, but it's something we, ever since we've been vegan, it's been hard to get the fresh vegetables into our fridge because we end up with a lot of condiments and leftovers and things that whenever we go shopping, we pick 1 leafy green vegetable instead of 3, and then we use it that night, and then all of a sudden we're out of healthy food and have to go shopping again. The fridge is a huge barrier to a lot of the way that people think and are able to cook for themselves, because that's kind of what we fall into the trap of going, well, they open up the fridge, well, there's nothing here that we can eat, so let's take something out of the freezer and do burgers again tonight. So yeah, that's my pitch.
That made me think of another thing that I was thinking before that might be so great when I thought about doing the cooking videos is to do kitchen tour videos, because especially with the whole food, because so like I think it was 2017, yes, so late 2017, I was online doing something, and I saw I think for the first time, because I was not on Facebook. I don't know. I didn't know social media, anything. And I somehow saw, maybe it was in a recipe I looked up online or something, WFPB for the first time. And I was like, WFPB, what is that? Something peanut butter? And I was like, what is that about? And then I looked up, Googled WFPB, and it said whole food plant-based, and I was like, whole food plant-based, what is that? And so all this, 20 years vegan, I had not heard of that. But so then I was like, well, what is this about? And then I didn't find Dr. Greger's website at that time, and I got on Amazon and I looked up whole food plant-based book or whole food book, or no, it wasn't even then I found whole food. It was at some point I did see that, but it was actually after I bought the book. So the book that made me vegan was Diet for America by John Robbins. And so in 2017, late 2017, I was looking for a book about something about eating more healthfully, and I actually found a book that he wrote, that John Robbins wrote, called Healthy at 100. So I ordered that one, and then I just recently saw that in my cart from back then. When I ordered that one, I put in my cart How Not to Die. And so apparently I found it then on Amazon, and I didn't get that one, and got John Robbins, because I was like, oh, he made me vegan in the first place, I'm going to get his. But so I found John Robbins from a friend, not John Robbins, Dr. Greger, from a friend. And anyway, I just was confused. Even after reading Healthy at 100, it was talking about what all these people in the places who live the longest, what all they eat. And it was, and I went through I read the whole book, and then I went back through the book, and I was typing out lists. It wasn't just what they eat, it was all the things they do. Many of them, they walk and they exercise naturally, and it's all the things that they do. But I went back to the food section, and I was like, okay, well, I want to know exactly what they eat, because they must be eating foods that are really helpful. And so I made a list, and I said, okay, all the grains, all of this, all of that, and I went through all the different people, and it was, and I had all these lists, and still it just was all just piecemeal, But then when I found Dr. Greger's, I was like, oh, that's what whole food is. Okay, I get it now. As soon as I saw his, I got it. And then and so I thought with this kitchen tour thing, if we made videos of our kitchen and went around okay, and literally just in the kitchen, okay, open the cabinet and be okay, so here I keep because that would do 2 things, I think. One would be to show what the foods are, what do we eat exactly, and 2, where do we keep them? You're talking about, right? We have the refrigerator problem with not enough space, and we have that problem too, and freezer space too.
Got a 21-foot square foot fridge, and a monster, and it was constantly crammed to the gills.
Yeah, we have it. We have a big fridge too, and it's still. And we have the same. We have like right now. So we go to the stores at least once a week, and I say stores because we go to multiple stores to get all the things that we want. But like we have 3 huge, the big giant things of salad. We have 2 that are of kale, and then 1 that's spring mix. And like we had those all shoved in the bottom, right, and stuff. But anyway, so for having a kitchen tour video and showing like all the different things and where they are, and like Rebecca, how you were talking about adding all the spices in the bowls and stuff, to say things like that too, when you're, show all your spices, and like if you have some favorite spices, and it seems like, it's not like, let me tell you all about myself, but it's, to be helpful, like, well, this is what I do because, if you like it, chances are somebody else is going to like it, also. And if doing the bowls like that works for you, that would be, I think, such a great thing to tell, at the time, or if there's some other little like special process, like the way you cut an avocado, just little things like that. I would need somebody to make a video about well, probably there are videos, but about how to not drop the pit of avocado on the floor almost every time, because that happens to me all the time.
I have a New Year's resolution on how to cut a mango by the end of January. I'll know how to do it properly. Right now, it's still a mess. I'm letting them get too ripe, but.
We get the frozen ones, frozen and dried. We get the fresh ones sometimes, but frozen and dried, because a lot of times the mangoes, they don't seem so good. I think they're all like that really, I don't know, that texture is so rough sometimes. But anyway, so like kitchen tour videos. And then when I was thinking about doing the kitchen tour videos and the cooking videos, I was thinking, what could they be called? And now, like having this conversation, I'm thinking if we wanted to, if y'all or anybody else in base camp wanted to do these kinds of cooking videos, and if y'all wanted to, you call it whatever you want. But what I thought of to call one that I could do would be to, we have like a big island in the kitchen, either to do it there or on our dining room table. Probably the island is bigger, but to do spread out all over the whole island with kale and all kinds of green leafy vegetables, fresh, so that you can't see the island, so it's all green. And then take different foods like the fresh vegetables and fresh fruits. And also, if it works, this would have to be a tested and see how it would work kind of thing. If it works, then also beans and nuts and like whole grains somehow, and piece together on top of that whole island of greens, these words, really big, spelled out in the foods on top in bright colors, so it's easy to see. My vegan kitchen. And then get a super picture of that from above, and then get also video of that, like so that in case you wanted to use it some other kind of way, so that you wouldn't have to do it a bunch of times and put all this food out, but get a video of that, anyway, and then that could be at the beginning of the cooking videos, the vegan tour videos and stuff like that. And if everybody or anybody, not everybody, but if some people if other people wanted to do that same thing, and if you like that name, and if like I really want to do that picture, I think it sounds so good, and then we can eat all food. But to get that picture, and then we can load that picture in base camp, and any of us in base camp could use that picture and do the same thing. And us, we in base camp would be truly having, the vegan kitchen, so we wouldn't have to be like, anybody in the world can make this, and they might be using, things that weren't vegan in it. You know what I mean? So anyway, we could do that sometime if anybody wants to. And once I have the picture, I think that maybe Jeff Adams might help me with the videos and maybe the pictures and stuff. And he has all this super good equipment. He lives really close to me. So it's just, if he has time or if our times match up. But if I get that picture, and if y'all want to use it, tell me, and I'll put it on base camp for everybody to use it.
Are you still talking about the universal meal option, like doing those kinds of recipes?
Oh, it could be. I was just talking about just vegan recipes in general.
But
yeah, it could be.
We're always been talking about recipes that are the recipe that helped us to go vegan. or the recipe that made you a little bit more comfortable with the idea of leaving cheese behind. And you were talking about cards, recipe cards, and I was going to ask earlier if anybody uses recipe cards when Myles was talking about the poster, because we have done that. That's been part of our activism, is to put these simple recipes onto index cards, like a recipe card sized index card, and give them away. We gave them, printed them out and gave them away at the veggie parade in Toronto. And we've given out a little flavor packets of Laninne black salt, because most people aren't familiar with it, and with an eggless egg salad recipe. So we just gave it away to people. There's probably a few legal issues of giving away food on the street without a permit, but we did it anyway. We're activists. We don't follow the rules. Test the laws of society.
Well, those are excellent ideas. I love it. Oh, sorry, my dog's barking. Let me deal with it.
The universal meal option. One thing that we were talking about earlier about people being able to afford the food or afford going to restaurants for these meetups. We went to a place in Asheville, North Carolina. It was Rosetta's Kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. That had a donation jar. It was just a jar, or you pay and you pay an extra amount for your meal that goes into a pot that helps to feed people who can't afford. Was it people at the restaurant that say that they can't afford it, so they can pay what they can?
No, anyone can come in and get their simple, I think it was like a bean and rice meal for free, and that extra $5 that you donated essentially covers the cost, so that they can offer that to more people.
And I'm thinking that doesn't even need to be contained to one restaurant. That could be a program that we can go to the vegan restaurants in Toronto and say, we want to have a kitchen that's fully vegan, that feeds people that are less advantaged, that aren't going to be eating in restaurants. And anybody that wants to donate extra it'll just become part of this pot. And unlike other restaurants, so vegan restaurants kind of have that kind of solidarity and desire to grow the movement. So you could have a tip jar or even have it built into the menu that if you pay an extra $2, somebody will be fed vegan food. And we also have a vegetarian, what is it called? The food
bank?
Yeah, the vegetarian food bank that only operates at particular times. It's not always in operation, but it focuses on vegan food to share with the public for free. A few ideas there. We got them documented now in video. We'll,
I've written some of them down. Those are great ideas. I wanted to say I really like the idea of Salish Rao, or our group, not focusing too much on just one person's. Like, I know he loves PCRM. I think and that's a good one. And I don't know if he does Dr. Gregor's, but there are so many, and they're becoming more and more doctors in areas. Down in Houston, there's Baxter Montgomery. Is a wonderful doctor that started a whole clinic on veganism, and he goes shopping and he has a whole big production of it. And then my local doctor does greens, beans, and squash. That have those three things every day. And so she's doing something like that. And but so what I think you did was kind of solve it for me, Jessica. In terms of my mind, it's not solved. It's just another way of thinking of it, is as our own groups do it. So here's what I eat. Here's how I do it. Somebody else in my group may want to put something else up. And then we could go to other groups to see. I don't know. I'm just kind of blown away by all the good ideas today, but that's one of them. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you I did one time was we were having a women's conference with the Unitarian Church, and I needed to do something about veganism. So I got 3 women to to talk with me. I was one that's single woman and what I eat as a vegan. And then there was a woman who cooks for her husband, and he's not exactly vegan, but how she manages her food cooking. And then the third person was a woman speaking about how she cooks for her whole family. So we had slides and we had recipe books and all kinds of things, and it was different perspectives, and that went really well. But what's missing now is we should have been doing it every year. But anyway.
You just reminded me that there's another kind of outreach other than the people that want to go vegan. There's the people who have to cook for the rest of their family. And they're quite often told, we don't want that vegan stuff. To empower these people, to help them, say, take control of the kitchen. Because
good title.
One of the things that I've noticed in being involved in activism, we're involved with the SAVE movement, and people are saying, what does the SAVE movement do? What does it mean to bear witness to the animals? And I've seen somebody who their partner is not vegan, they're not interested in veganizing their diet, but they've been to a vigil. This woman went to a vigil, and then she said, you know what, that's it. My kitchen is a vegan kitchen. If they want to have non-vegan food, they have to go somewhere else. And giving her that power was a really good thing that it's really stuck with me. That the kitchen is, I mean, as an environmentalist, one of the phrases that gets used again and again is think globally, act locally. And with the vegan movement, how locally is that? As local as your kitchen is. This is the place where a lot of this movement happens. It's not necessarily in restaurants and stuff like that, which kind of people get preoccupied with those. But what happens in your kitchen is so powerful now. And it could be a feminist issue because there's the whatever wave of feminism said get out of the kitchen. Now it's take over the kitchen and really this cooking for your man. I can't go vegan because my husband said doesn't want to.
I love that, Ray. I mean, I've got to have that poster that says act locally. Locally is your kitchen. Go vegan, or some phrasing on there, just like you said it. When I do the prayer for compassion coming up, that would be a great poster to have there because they will have just come from that, and they'll be thinking of that. So I'm looking forward to it.
And if it's with so many themes in environmentalism, because like Project Drawdown says that like one of the, I think, 6th ranked best solution is to empower women and girls.
Yeah.
That's got a carbon footprint to it. And they are quite often the people that are growing food and making the food in developing nations. And for them to be empowered to say that we're going to be vegan and we're going to make vegan food is definitely part of that carbon footprint.
Oh my gosh, I have been talking with people who always bring up drawdown, and then I will remind them that drawdown is really, the number one issue is food when you consider all the things. And somebody will be talking about population, and so we talk about education in girls, but I hadn't put together the kitchen part. I was thinking about educating girls to not populate, but educating girls, it's their kitchen. It doesn't have to be their kitchen. It could be a men's kitchen, but it's another feminist aspect. I just love it.
I was part of there's a drawdown group that started in Toronto. So Drawdown Toronto is an organization that's grown locally based on that movement. And we've had an interview with the writer. Paul Hawken is the editor of the book and the website, but the writer's Catherine Wilkinson. And she's in a TED Talk where and she expressed to the group when she talked to us that a lot of that empower women and girls is referring to third world countries, developing nations, and it's a solution the UN is pushed for many years. This isn't a new thing. This is obviously something that's been very well established. This is how you solve poverty and a lot of social problems. But she said that empowering women and girls also applies to developed countries as well. Women are starting to have a really strong voice in environmentalism, and in numbers they tend to outnumber the men. And you don't always see the same kind of those numbers reflected in the leadership, but I took it as a sign that she has taken her role as writing this drawdown book as really important, and it definitely influences that idea of women's strength if they happen to be in the kitchen. That is a place to take strength and make decisions for themselves. And I defer to Kelly because I tell everybody that she went vegan first, then the kitchen, then me, and then our kids.
And
No
the name,
comment.
my vegan, what? What'd you say?
I
Ray?
thought you'd comment, but you didn't.
Oh, I mean, when I went vegan, I knew exactly what kind of vegan I was going to be, right? Like, you know, it just hit me, right? I'd been a vegetarian before, and then I met Ray. We had, I was pregnant within the year, and started craving meat, and thought, oh, my body needs it, and blah blah blah, right? You know, and but I always like had that guilt there because I, you know, always knew that was the right way to live. I didn't really know anything about veganism, right? You know, and so I saw a poster on the subway, the why love one but eat the other, and I was like, yeah, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I've like strayed from that path and went vegetarian right away, and you know, vegan shortly after. And I knew like that was it, that was my life, right? I, you know, and even the activism, like when I went to research who was the who created the campaign, and then I saw Toronto Pig Safe or the Safe Movement, and went like, that's the activism that I've been looking for. I always wanted to be an activist, but nothing ever hit me enough to go out and do it. And that was it. Right. So I knew like it was so meaningful to me that they had to change. Right. You know, and so I was very fortunate that I didn't have too stubborn of a family. But I know I have friends who have been with their partners, and you know, 10 years have gone by and they're still not vegan, right? You know, so yeah.
That and the My Vegan Kitchen, Ray, when you were talking earlier, that you said in your talking about it, you said something about in My Vegan Kitchen. And Becky, what did you want the poster to say exactly? The whole thing, think globally, act locally, and then something about the vegan kitchen, or just think locally and something about the vegan kitchen?
Well, those are the words that I remember hearing Ray say at various times, and I put it in that order. I was just now thinking, it's your kitchen, make it vegan. But I don't know if that will convince or if that will make people resist. But I liked putting in there because people have heard for a long time, act locally. So I wanted to start off with something they're familiar with, and they'd want, I'm a good person, I want to act locally. My kitchen's local, make it vegan. Something like that. I don't know.
It could be something like think global, act local as your kitchen, or as local as your refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And for like what Myles was talking about with the posters and stuff, if that could easily be made into a poster to, you know, put out places. And also the My Vegan Kitchen, if I do that, you know, picture, that can be made into a poster that can be, it could be made where people can just print it online, but also it could be made, you know, done on Cafe Press or something like that, where people can just click and order it, you know, because it's, you know, made on demand on that website. And then people can put it in their kitchen. So then, like, maybe if there are, you know, all of these people who they're vegan, but the rest of their family isn't, or they're vegan, but their partner isn't vegan, or that lives with them or something, if they, I don't know, maybe it would start a fight, but if they, or, you know, an argument, but if they put up a poster in the kitchen that says My Vegan Kitchen, you know, I mean, maybe that might cause problems, but, or if
it could be a fridge magnet.
What?
Make it a fridge
Yes.
magnet.
Yeah, and
So
you
it's-
actually you can totally. I don't know if you can do that on Cafe Press, but there are two companies. I don't know if they're still in business, but when I used to teach art, I made them. I had the students make them, and then you can buy them for. I think they're like this was I don't know 12 or more years ago, but they Art by Me was one. I can't
Well,
remember
any
the
printer
other.
that does swag items
Oh yeah, all of that.
for giveaway for logos and stuff like that, they always have fridge magnets as one of the options
Yeah.
to print on.
Okay. Well, oh yeah, probably even like Vistaprint and all those. Probably everybody does that now. I was just thinking magnet. I made a drawing, and you can do it with drawings that like Art by Me, and then order your magnet. But like Vistaprint, even can do that. But then you'd have to get it. You'd have to sell it to them. But like Cafe Press or Art by Me, somebody can put in their own. So maybe somebody could have the image, and then I think Art by Me may require that it's actually a drawing because they're trying to gear it toward children. But anyway, somehow somebody could get it, and then climate healers wouldn't have to sell it, but some people would have access to it, and to put it on a magnet or put it on a poster or something, or to not cause problems whenever they actually transition their kitchen to being a vegan kitchen. Then they could put it up there, put it up somewhere and feel like proud about it. And this is my vegan kitchen. This is our vegan kitchen now. The kitchen it's official. There's a sign, or right.
I like the idea of it being kids art, because that's what you do. You take the magnet and you put the kids art on the fridge. The kids art could be the magnet itself, and declaring this is a vegan space here.
I like the idea also of having your poster or some poster with, it says lots of choices, or maybe you don't even have to say it, but when people are wondering what to eat, or just a reminder of all these, there's so much. And especially if it's, of course, it'd be could customize to whatever food is in their area. But I would love to have a big poster up like that, and to be able to take it when I go places to display it. My vegan kitchen, that would be wonderful.
And and you can get. I bought one from Amazon for our screening that is like. Now it only takes an 8.5 by 11. I'm sure they're like Vistaprint or Amazon or different people might sell other ones, and you can keep your, like from Vistaprint, you could get one already made in there in the thing. But from Amazon, I ordered a little thing, like when you go to a store and they put down the little, like a yellow sign that stands up like this that says caution wet floor, that it's like that, but it's black. You know what I'm talking about? But okay, like that it says like the wet floor and has the silhouette of the falling person, like that, except it's a black, the stand is black, the one that I ordered, and then it has like a little plastic insert on each side of it, like this, and you slide out the plastic, and then you slide in your thing, your piece of paper, and it was like, I think it only fits 8.5 by 11. And then you slide the plastic back in, and you can stand it up. And that could be, like, I did that for the screening because ours was at a library. And so I put that sign just outside the door. So even if passersby were like, what's going on? That they just pass by, and I wrote, free film screening, a prayer for compassion, and put the time on there so people could see it. But there could, I'm just saying there are different things that will hold signs for us like that, in places like that. That's one, but that would be a small one, but still one. I'm sure there are bigger ones.
What I like about the videos of My Vegan Kitchen is that it will show real people's kitchens. That's one thing about YouTube videos. I tend not to watch YouTube videos of chefs because they're always so perfect, and it's intimidating in some sense, right? But just like seeing Jessica and Rebecca, what you eat might be completely different than what's in my fridge or whatever, right? And show people like, here's vegans are not the same, we're not uniform, we're not whatever, right? And it gets people more comfortable with the idea of being vegan. Some people might have a fridge full of nothing but fruits and vegetables. Some people might have a fridge full of vegan cheese, right? Which has been us many times. So, just to show that, there's on top of the fact that there's just all this vegan stuff that you can have, right? But then also that, you know, there's a bunch of different ways that, you know, you can be vegan. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't want to dismiss Whole Foods plant-based, right? Obviously that, you know, but just so people don't feel like, oh yeah, you know, like, I'm not quite ready to, you know, okay, maybe I can go vegan, but I need my burger for, you know, whatever, right? You know, okay, right, have it, right? You know, or yeah, you know, or here's how, you know, how we make our own delicious vegan burgers, right? You know, whatever it may be. But yeah, I like the idea of it being real people, not set up, I mean, not to say that you can't have a slight production value to it, but like not to the point where it's, you know, it brings that humanness there still of that we're real people inviting you into our home and this is what it's like and this is what we eat and, you know.
That's a good opportunity to circle around to the universal meal option idea, which I wanted to suggest that we find some universal meal options, go through our cookbooks and find some, and practice them. And if anybody's familiar, Jane Unchained, Jane Velez Mitchell's Facebook channel, it's essentially a TV channel. One of the features of it is she's got a lunch break live where it's not always about food, but quite often it's like somebody just in their kitchen and they're gonna cook something, and they kind of chat about it and do their own little cooking show. Informally, live streaming with the cell phone, nothing too fancy, but that could be a good stepping point to get that conversation going about the universal meal option and explain it as we're cooking our meals. We want to eventually get to the celebrity chefs and TV shows and stuff, but I think real people cooking real food is a really good way to start, because it's got a message that I think is going to resonate with people and get a lot of vegans excited. And she's got a pretty good following, so that's a really good. And she's also part of the base camp, so it seems like a good conclusion. Rebecca wasn't here for the beginning when we were talking about the universal meal option, but you were talking about Silesh and his Neil Bernard. The universal meal option was suggested by the PCRM as for institutions to have a certified meal that's vegan, that's hypoallergenic and compatible with most religions. That will catch on with, you know, get them into schools, into airplane, like airline food, and any place that they know that they're going to have to deal with a large volume of people, and some of them are going to have meal restrictions. So just have a certification process. They've suggested that. We're suggesting taking that to the nth level and making it a whole genre of cooking and promoting it and challenging chefs to show us that you can do universal, you know?
Right.
It's a limited palette of food, but that's the challenge. There's so much you can do.
I looked at it. I'm sorry I'm interrupting. I'm just so excited. I was talking to some people at my church, just a few people. If you want to be welcoming to people, you're not going to have ham and you're not going to have so many different nuts and things like that. So I think it's a beautiful idea. And I think your idea of practicing it would be more welcoming than just showing them here's the limited items that you can use. So I just think that's a fantastic idea. I'm up for it.
And one of the things I think will be the nature of projects through the base camp and Vegan World 2026 is that Silesh is a very big believer in open sourcing whatever we talk about. These videos are going to be shared online. We try to work with volunteers who are working for free, and we're coming up with concepts that we can do as much as we can with as little money, little overhead as possible, and leverage the ability of people's enthusiasm to do these things. And we've investigated the legalities of cookbooks and what can be copyrighted for recipes. And it turns out recipes cannot be copyrighted. A list of ingredients can't be copyrighted. The only thing that can be copyrighted is the description, if it has a particular kind of art, like a signature or artistry to the phrasing itself. That's legally. The convention in the food industry is that people know, people will recognize, hey, you just ripped off like 4 recipes in a row from that particular cookbook and you didn't credit that person. And, you know, the industry has a way of its own methods of justice, whatever they may be. I didn't mean to laugh sinister like that, but the word gets around like when you're ripping somebody off. We don't want to rip anybody off, but there's a certain degree that you can't really own a list of ingredients. And we are in a position where we so much want people to embrace vegan food that we don't want to make any recipe about ourselves. This isn't, you know, the secret recipe that my grandmother has. I'm not going to share it with anybody. We have to find recipes that we want to share with people. And we have to try to find that threshold. There's, you know, little gimmicks like, we know, Doug McNish in Toronto, he's got the famous vegan egg, the egg yolk that sits on his vegan with the hollandaise sauce. There's a technique of making these kind of foods, and it's yet who really owns these recipes? I'm sure he's got it from somewhere else. And there's different cheese recipes that, you know, Kelly went to a Christmas market, I think, and there was like was it a vegan Christmas market? Mm-hmm. And everybody's selling cheese. So is cashew cheese something that would be public domain by now? Or one of the recipes that we gave away on index cards was nacho sauce made from boiled potatoes and carrots and nutritional yeast and olive oil and a bit of lemon juice. The proportions may vary, and you may spice it up with different things, but what a basic recipe that is so versatile too, because you can put it in mac and cheese, and you can dip your nachos in it, and it's just one of those universal things that is not terribly great for you because you put a lot of oil in it, but it's still better than the original thing. And when we make it, we tend to have a big jug of it, so it's something that you can also share with people. And I think it freezes pretty well. It doesn't last very long in the fridge because after you boil the potatoes and carrots, it goes off in a day or two. But sharing those kinds of recipes. The other one we had was the eggless egg salad, which uses tofu and a little bit of turmeric to make it yellow, and the kalinamak to make it stinky.
The what did you just say? The what makes it stinky?
The kalinamak black salt.
Oh, black salt. Okay. I'm going to have to find out about black salt because...
And that's one of the things that we take when we're showing people how to shop. Nobody knows what this is and where to buy it. And you can find it in some specialty stores, and you'll be paying like, you know, $10 for a little jar. It's $1 at the Middle Eastern grocery store at the end of our street. And they're always wondering why we're buying like 10 individual bags of salt for $1 a piece, but we give them to our friends or put them in little jars and give them away, you know, little craft jars, just enough a sample size to share with people. And then they can try, you know, stink up your tofu and make eggs, because it smells like eggs and it makes the food taste like eggs. And
I get mine at the Indian store when I go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they always ask me why you're buying all this, and I ask them what they use it for. And one woman said that she just puts it in hot water and drinks it. I'm like, that sounds horrible, but it's apparently a remedy. It's got some healing properties in it as well, which is things that are good to know.
That cheese recipe you're talking about with the potatoes and carrots, I found out about that recipe a couple of years ago. 2017, we were volunteering at one of the farm sanctuaries a couple hours away, and somebody there was like, we started talking about food, and she said, "Have you had the potato carrot cheese yet?" And I was like, "The what? No." And then she was like, "You have to look this up. It's so good." So I came home and looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it is so good. Everybody needs to know about this." And then so now that we're doing the whole food, plant-based everything, I was like, okay, this has a lot of oil in it. And I think that was maybe the first recipe that I thought of this for. But just in case you were wondering, this is the way that I have figured out to eliminate oil from any recipe that can be blended. So you can blend, that goes to be blended anyway, is you take, I think that one uses a third of a cup of cashews. And not cashews, of oil. So what I do is I take the third measuring cup and I fill it with cashews, and then I fill it with water while the cashews are still in it. And then I blend that in with it. And I've done that with a number of recipes that call for oil, where I'm able to blend at least some of the ingredients. Like if it's something where you can't blend everything, but you can blend, the liquid ingredients of herbs or something like that. And if you just blend the cashews and water like that, you really cannot tell the difference. And I don't know if, I know like Ray and Kelly, you all are not, well, yeah, you said you went to North Carolina, but anyway, there are, Becky, I don't know if you've ever been to a Soul V restaurant. We call it Soul V, but Soul Vegetarian. Okay, there were 2 in Atlanta a long time ago. I think they're still there, and I don't know where else there are. You went to Soul V?
In Atlanta, yeah.
In Atlanta. Did you get Prince sauce? Did you get Prince sauce? The yellow, the golden liquid, the delicious?
I don't think so.
No Prince sauce? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, if you ever go there again, get Prince sauce. But they sell a cookbook, and we had friends back a super long time ago that had the cookbook, and it has that recipe in it, and it uses a ton, like a half a cup of oil or something in one regular sized recipe for it. And I've done that cashews and water replacement for that oil and that too. And I'm telling you, it does not affect it negatively at all. So anyway, if you're looking for an oil replacement in any of those on your journey to going more the whole food way, that's one thing you can try.
We just went to like an organic food store last night, and I bought a 10-pound bag of carrots, and I said, Ray, I want my potatoes and carrot cheese, and we need to figure out how to substitute the oil. So it's great timing that you're telling us this, because I didn't even think of nuts. I just thought we're gonna add more water. I don't know what it could taste like, but water's the only. So I did not even think of nuts.
There you go.
Yes, I'm excited. And same with our carrot locks. Like I make carrot locks, and the key to it is oil, right? To make it like smoked salmon. It's like, how can I make this? Because anytime I make it for an event, just people go crazy for it, right? But I was like, how can we make this healthier? How do we do this without the oil and still, I don't want to say mimic, but like, give people that umami of the salmon that's supposed to replicate, right? Without the oil. So. I think you could totally do, I don't know if it would work for that recipe. It might, I don't know if it would change that flavor, but for the cashews and water substitute for oil, if you had enough of it, and of course, you could fix extra and then put it in a jar or something if you didn't use it all, but you could also just, do 2 cups of water and do 2 cups of cashews, fill it with the water and blend that alone. And then you have your oil replacer in the fridge, that you can just add as you go, in a recipe. If you can't blend something, you're making muffins and it says 1/4 of a cup of oil. Oh, I just, I had that. I made that yesterday. Yeah, that's really great.
One of the things I wanted to talk about the universal meal option is that it has its specifications already. How much beyond that do we want to go? And one step I definitely want to investigate and kind of combine 2 ideas. Paul Mahoney is, I guess how you pronounce it. It's Mahony. He's lives in Australia. He's published this book that I put a link in there called in the comments, called the Low Emissions Diet. And what he's teamed up with a chef, and essentially what he's done is he's made different recipes and included the life cycle analysis of the ingredients to show what its ecological footprint is on the environment, or at least emissions. It would be interesting to do this and include with each meal its carbon footprint and its water footprint and different ecological factors that go into making it. And you'll see in the recipe book that he'll have a bean burrito, and then he'll say this is the life cycle analysis of the carbon footprint, and this is what it would be if you used meat instead. And you'd use different kinds of meat. If you use 100 grams of beef instead, this is what it does to the carbon footprint. And of course, it's night and day. It's there. It's obvious, and it works relatively well in the cookbook format. But I think it would work even better in a label on a product kind of or a recipe that's independent on a card that you share with people. Partially because 100 grams of beef is always going to be the same reading. The recipe changes, but the comparison with 100 grams of beef or 100 grams of chicken or 100 grams of fish is always going to be the same. But that's only when you're comparing with it in a recipe book. If you're putting it on packaging or in a recipe card, that's where it kind of stands out, and it's something that you can share around and people can show it to other people, put it on their fridge or whatever.
That aspect of the carbon footprint, I think, is excellent and fits right in with climate healers.
Mm-hmm.
It would be wonderful if if I knew how to do that. If I do have a recipe, how do I determine the carbon footprint? If you have any links to that, or
yeah, he has a link to the particular place where he finds the life cycle analysis. We'll find a consistent source to that, and maybe multiple sources. Like I know the Water Footprint Network has information for different kinds of foods. They're kind of a guideline. You can't really say what the life cycle analysis of any particular ingredient is, because you don't really, unless you follow its path of how that particular product got to you. And some products, especially with the animal products, they're just a huge difference depending on how the animal was raised and how much water is used over their life cycle, which lasts for years. So it's not something that is accurate enough to the degree that you can determine how much calories are in something. It's how much it's just kind of a general thing, but it's enough to show the difference between beans and animal flesh is so huge, and it draws attention back to these are animals that you're throwing into your cooking pot.
thank you.
Oh,
It's the one that's Terracendo is it's the website. Terracendo.com is his blog page, Paul Monty.
You're on mute, Becky.
The other technical question that comes up is, I would love to share this with two people who have said they're in my climate healers group here in the small town of Lockhart, but technology, and they're not sure they want to get on our base camp. So I would love to share this video with them and others maybe. And so I'd like to know how to do that when it's time.
It's a little bit transparent here.
Oh, yes.
I met Stephen Leahy. He did a presentation after I did at a Veg Fest near Toronto. And I talked to him. I don't know if he's vegan or not, but he was at a Veg Fest, so he's at least veg friendly. And he's involved in a lot. He's a writer, and he's involved in a lot of high profile newspapers. He's published in the New York Times and stuff. So he published this book, and it's got the pictures comparing all the waters of comparing to flushes, apparently, or how long you use a hair dryer. This one's specifically water, and all of his data is going to be from the Water Footprint Network. but comparing in real world kind of terms, like jugs of water compared, or bathtubs of water, because when you talk about liters of water, you don't really know, or gallons of water, you don't really know how much that is after you get past a few hundred, right?
Right. Jessica, I've just found the comments up here, and I see you asked what's his name, and I'm not sure what that's about.
That was what's the name of the gentle chef?
Chef.
Sky
Okay.
Michael Conroy.
Okay, thanks.
So what's next step?
How do we feel about finding universal meal options in our own cookbook library, or looking for them online and just kind of seeing what kind of a range we can come up with? And we can report back, and obviously we can post anything that we find on the Basecamp. We're in our Whole Foods Canadian diet, so we'll be definitely looking for Whole Foods produce-oriented meals.
I would love to try to find something. Yeah, I love the idea.
Or maybe we just need to find one. Obviously, as we're looking, when we go, maybe this will be my recipe, or this one, ones that comply or ones that can be adapted. But look for them, make a list, and try one. How about that? We don't need to perfect them yet.
Do we, right? Do we post it? Go ahead and post it, or you say wait till next
Yeah, you can post it in the Basecamp. Anything that you find, there's no reason to wait. But you can, if you want to be mysterious, you can present it at the next video conference.
Okay. Yeah.
So should we like find out what is a good day for everyone, just to, I know this one was kind of last minute.
Do we want to meet on a regular basis on the same time every week? And is Sunday nights good for everybody?
This time works for me. I couldn't commit to every Sunday, but this is a good time.
A lot of the Basecamp groups are getting into a rhythm of meeting on a particular time, but I don't think that necessarily will follow. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have everybody at a different time slot. And we don't have to have them on the same day each time. We can, especially as we start out, we might get into a rhythm. We might want to get people in different time zones. I'm sure there's there's a lot of people signed up now from India after Sailesh has done his tour there. So picking a time zone that works well for them. I think 8 o'clock Eastern time is 6:30 a.m. in India. So that wouldn't really work well for most people. They would get up that early in the morning and start talking about food. But we could have different meetings at different times specifically for that reason.
The 8 o'clock time works for me. Sunday's fine for me. But same as Becky for me, I couldn't do probably every week either. And as far as the people in India, at least in Pune, they're, I think it's 9.5 hours ahead of Eastern time. I mean, yeah. So, and I know when Sailesh does his 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Pacific time, that's like noon for me. And I think that may work for some people in India, you know, as far as that time, that noon time. I think that may be why he picks that 9 a.m. Pacific.
This is a pretty big group, despite the 3-4 people that we've got here. The number of people that signed up for is pretty big. So maybe what we need to do is one of the other groups used a doodle. Is that what it's called? Where they have a online sign up and it talks of there's different time slots where you can select and say what's good for you, and then after everybody has entered it in, you kind of have a layout of what times are the best for people. So it's designed specifically for, you know, trying to schedule meetings. Maybe we'll give that a try for this group, and if we have multiple meetings, that's fine too. That it would be great to have, you know, one happening in India where they're getting together and sharing ideas, and then we get the groups to meet together at some time, even if we're like 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I'll look into that and figure out how it works, because I think that's probably something that I'll need to get the hang of. One other thing was that the collective intelligence group is volunteering to manage a lot of the meetings, and I'm not sure exactly how it works out, but they want to be involved with all the groups. They want to know when they're meeting and help them with their video recordings, and I think they'll all eventually be transcribed, which is kind of cool. They want to be part of that scheduling process, so I'll find out what that's about.
So you'll just post an update on the page?
Yeah, I'll keep updating on the page.
Great.
On the page, I don't know, the as we schedule meetings, we'll put them in the schedule in our Basecamp group, because each group has its own schedule, and then repost the schedule on the main group so that everybody can see it. There's no reason not to make this open to everybody, whether they're signed up for this group or not. We can advertise our groups and try to campaign for people to come join us, and sooner or later everybody's got something to say about food, right?
And I just today found, I can't remember, it's Adobe something, a way to make videos with just some kind of free thing that we found online, I guess. And so I think we've talked about, we pinged about this or something right before, about like each group in Basecamp and team and everything having a short video, and it could include maybe little clips. Now, I don't know how to do that yet, take clips from Zoom meetings, and I don't know how to take clips from YouTube yet. I'll figure that out. It was just today that I found out how to make the videos. But anyway, to have short videos from each group, and like maybe little highlights or something, you know, especially like if somebody's like how, perfect example I think to go in a video for this would be like how when Becky's like, oh, I'm just so excited about that, you know, like moments like that, and that can get everybody excited, you know, when they see somebody's excited and hear what they're excited about, you know. And if we have, like for all Basecamp groups, just a short, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 minute video with some little highlights from the Zoom meetings, and maybe I don't know, somewhere there would have to be a description, I guess, in the video telling what the group is or goals if they have any or whatnot. Stuff like that might help, I don't know, help people, and put that in the Vegan World 2026 docs and files. And then like once, as they're loaded in there, you know, people can go and see like, oh yeah, I want to talk about food. Oh yes, you know, and oh, I have an idea about that. I should get in there so I can talk about that too.
One other something just occurred to me now. Another reason that would be great to be able to network with the people in India is because we met Abhishek, who owns Gooddot. Are you familiar with Gooddot? They're a vegan meat company in India, and Abhishek's in the base camp, and he's got a vegan meat that he figures he'd be able to make it for about $1 kilogram from an American dollar. He's going to be able to make it at a price and a scale that he'll be able to get enough vegan food for everybody in the world.
Wow.
And he's it's kind of a cute company too, because it's Gooddot. Gooddot is named after a goat named Gooddot, and he's the mascot of the company. And they're apparently making an animated series, like a whole children's television show based on this goat.
Wow.
Who I think has superpowers or something. So
Wow, I'm just remembering what Salish said one time when he said, yes, things are going to change. It's going to become a vegan world. You're going to have to hold on to your seat. It's going to go so fast when it happens. And yeah, that sounds like one of the ways.
We had the World Council of Religious Leaders in Toronto last year, and for the first time in over 100 years of this council collecting, gathering for a conference, they had a vegan banquet, and Gooddot catered the event, and we attended. It was a huge room full of people and a lot of presentations of, religious leaders that are really promoting veganism. So that was and they also gave us a couple cases of his food to share at a screening of A Prayer for Compassion. So we were able to share the food with everybody, and it was well liked by everybody, including my son. We had a few packages left over, and he's never been a fan of Indian food, but one of the recipes, he kind of hoarded all the packages. Another cool thing about the food, when we got it, it was in foil envelopes, which isn't necessarily that eco-friendly, but the shelf life of it was like 3 years. I'm like, wow, when we make our bomb shelter, we're going to have curry for for at least 3 years.
That's crazy. I remember when I was little, sometime my dad would sometimes get that Spam. Do y'all have that there? Okay, that Spam product. And then I remember when he went vegan in the late 90s, he said, you know what needs to happen to make everybody well, I don't know if he said in the world or American, but you know what needs to happen to make everybody be vegan? There needs to be a vegan Spam. So if somebody makes a vegan Spam, then the world will go vegan, And that just when you're saying the 3 years, I don't know how long Spam lasts, but it's like, is this like the vegan Spam, And it seems like, I mean, if it lasts, that's just crazy. And well, and how, I don't know. Are they selling it yet? I mean, he's giving it to you, but
yeah, it's selling in India, and they're finding resellers in Canada. They didn't they? They said that they were going to get them in Loblaws. So they are networking with people right now. So they'll start appearing in stores shortly. We'll get him on the show on the recording on the meeting sometime.
How do you spell it? Becky's asking. Good, D-O-T?
Yeah, GOODDOT.IN.
Okay. What's the main ingredient in that? Do you remember?
I think it's pea protein. It does have, do you know what
It doesn't qualify for the universal meal. It's
I know. It's got gluten in it.
I thought it might. Wow, that's amazing. Okay.
Today at church, they had donation requests for filling students' backpacks, and I was looking to see if there's what meat products they asked for, and the only one was tuna fish in a foil bag, because it's for the homeless, but easier for them to carry. And I was so pleased that there was only one. And I'm just really excited about what you're talking about here. Gooddot. Yeah.
What was the name of the man who is the owner of this, or the founder of the Gooddot?
Abhishek Sinha, ABHISHEK.
ABHISHEK?
Yep. Well, we're 2 hours and 50 minutes now, so I think we got a good solid program in here, and a good start to our our group that have been anxious to get us up and talking about food.
Right. So how can I share? And then how can I get a cute background like you've got? Maybe on another program. But I love that you're over there in India with that picture behind you. Oh my goodness.
This is $4 at the dollar store. It's a shower curtain.
Oh, okay.
An attention rod for curtains within the window frame.
Fantastic. Okay. Thanks. And will this be posted in our group, and then I can copy and paste that? Is it going to be a YouTube?
Yeah, I'll put it into a YouTube video, and then I'll paste it in the group.
Okay.
So I'll have a link that you can share with anybody.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, lovely.
My spiritual geometry for Dharmendra's group.
A shell that looks just like that is on our math book, one of our math books.
That's good. This has been great. I'm just so thrilled and so glad I had time to get on today, and so glad you're each there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for joining us in this. We're well on our way now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very exciting. I'm sure we'll have a great turnout the next time. We'll give people more notice.
Be wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening, everyone, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.